I mean,
strong one.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we
All
are.
right. Okay, we are facing technical situation here for us to have Mr. Tony with us. So we are going to reschedule, but he's on the phone. We can quickly take one or two questions, but we are still going to reschedule for this. Mr. Tony, good evening to you once again, sir. You're on a live broadcast right now. Please, I would like you to quickly talk to the people before we pass one or two questions to you quickly. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, and sorry for the technical difficulties. We've tried from the dot of the time we agreed. For some reason, it's not connecting, and so we have to reschedule. But as it is, we can only say that like doctors would do in any situation, we have to diagnose what is wrong with our country, Nigeria. We have to consider the appropriate prescriptions based on that diagnosis, and then we go to the treatment based on the prescription. In that order: diagnosis, prescription, and treatment. The key thing that we have to resolve now, the contention, the thesis of NINAS, for whom I speak, for which I speak, is that the problem with the country is the constitutional arrangement. And we're not saying that in conjecture. We're saying that as people who have interrogated the matter, as people with specialty knowledge in that area. There's nobody, all these lawyers you see parading all over Nigeria, senior advocate, professor, there's nobody that can come to engage in any kind of debate with us on that subject. To say that the constitutional arrangement is 100% responsible for what has happened to Nigeria across the last 55 years. And that was why NINAS said to everybody in 2020, can we leave election alone and go and solve this problem? Because many say, oh, it's leadership. Let's go get a great man to come and lead us. Can anybody fetch water with baskets? That's what it looks like. Some say, oh, it's corruption. We say the constitution is responsible for the poor leadership, 100% responsible for the leadership we have got in Nigeria so far. 100% responsible for the corruption we live in. The constitution of Nigeria mandates corruption and comprehensively protects the beneficiaries of corruption. The structure is wrong. The economic assets of the country are confiscated by omnibus federal government. Everything that should have made things work for everybody is distorted and turned upside down. And so we are running around in cycles. And then they go to election. We have seen how the election has gone. It is because of that constitution that election in a federation is being run from a centralized position in Abuja. It is people in Abuja that will decide who will be processed and who will emerge amongst them. Why do we go to submit ourselves to such a constitution that ties us down to the whims and caprices of lunatics, the lunatics we have seen now? And the structure is still in place. The winner of that election, whether it is Atiku or Peter Obi or what's his name, Bola Tinubu, the winner of that election will swear to defend and uphold this unworkable constitutional arrangement. And people are dying in large numbers. The currency is collapsing. The economy is in disarray. Young people are running away. Why can't we stop and ask, why are these things like that? The Constitution is responsible for the corruption we see. The Constitution is responsible for the bad leadership we have had. And it's not a change of personnel, because if we go from diagnosis to prescription to treatment, we will then see that if the problem is the Constitution, like one of the candidates, Peter Obi, did say, that the engine of the Nigerian state is knocked. Why do you load people into a vehicle with a knocked engine? That was what happened to us in 2023 election. Did Peter Obi not win the election to everybody seeing? Did he not get more votes? But why is he not president today? Has the heavens fallen? The executive went how they wanted to go. The judiciary went with them. The legislature had always been in the midst of it. If you allow them, they will carry on again in 2027, like he said, let us work. How do you want to get anywhere under this constitution that makes it impossible, that guarantees everything we seek will not be realized under this constitution? Anybody who doesn't know that is simply ignorant or dishonest. And we're beginning to suspect dishonesty. Tinubu came from Nadeko. He knows everything we're talking about. But he chose to go the way he's gone. The alliance of 1967, which he went to revive in 2015 when he went to bring Buhari. You saw what Buhari did for 8 years. You saw him saying it is his turn. You see what we are doing now? Because we went to election. That's why Tinubu is president. If there's any one person to be punished for what Tinubu is doing today, it is the people that dragged us to election when we should have said we cannot proceed to election, any further election, under this constitution. That's where the problem is. Anybody who doesn't agree with that as at now is being dishonest. And when it will snap, it's not the people you think are the problems that are going to be the problems. It's the people you followed, the men of God, the church leaders in Nigeria. We went to them one after the other. I had a closed door session with the Catholic bishops of Nigeria in their conference in March of 2022 on behalf of NINAS. Your Lordship, this is what the problem is. If we go to this election, you will be leading your flock to death. Look at the conditions in Nigeria today. It was because they went to election. Those people who are being killed in the middle belt right now, those people whose lives have been tumbled upside down, it was their church leaders that led them to slaughterhouse in taking them to election under this constitution. Look at the Barr Association. Look at all the NGOs milling around, free and fair election. Where's Mike Guinea now? And we did everything we could to send this message to our brother Peter Obi, that it is not leadership that is the problem. Leadership is a problem. Corruption is a problem. The constitution is the reason we have the two problems. If you have the tap running and you decide to go and mop instead of turning off the tap, what will be the outcome? That's why Nigeria is in the quagmire we're in. Young people running away to every other place, anywhere but Nigeria. Many die in the desert. Many die in the Mediterranean Sea. What are they running away from? Their country has become a monster that feeds on their blood. And politicians are going about, anybody who subscribes to that constitution is a criminal of the worst order. Is a criminal that ought to be stoned to death wherever he turns up. Because what we have now is what we can get from that constitution. It has been imposed since 1999. We raised this issue since 1999. They went to election in that 99. They went to election in 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015, 19, and now 23. And if you plot a graph for all the indices, you will see that it is a straight plunge to damnation, to the valley of death. But the politicians gather in Abuja, you see the kind of monies they are sharing because they have confiscated your sovereignty. The people who want to take back their country. It is the constitution that took away your sovereignty. It is the constitution that took the country from you. Every other thing you are doing is a product of ignorance. And that is the kind of ignorance that kills. That's why people are dying in the numbers that are dying in Nigeria. Ignorance. And some of them parade PhD. Okay, let's go to National Assembly and go and solve the problem. Who told you that National Assembly is the owner of your sovereignty? The Constitution creates all the institutions. It is your exclusive right to decide whether you want to be in union with anybody. It's your exclusive right to decide the terms of being in union with people, because you are entitled to be by yourself in the place where God created you. Was it not Scotland that went to referendum the other day? They are planning to go to another one. Because it is their right to self-determination. It is their sovereignty that is at issue. Our sovereignties were confiscated, first by the British, and then they handed it over to their local agents. And then those local agents expanded themselves into the alliance of 1967, in which they beat down one part of the country and have been carrying on like that as if our lives don't matter. Look at what it has become. And we joined them in going to election under that constitution. Imagine if the blacks in South Africa refused to listen to Nelson Mandela. They would still believe in apartheid. It was the apartheid constitution that took their sovereignty from them, that took their land from them, that took their rights from them. But initially they were going about stoning white men. Anywhere they see white men, they stone them. And then they shoot back at them, killing them. They had no rights.
Let us take one or two questions, sir. Thank you very much for this. Let me quickly start by the first person on the panel, according to how we have it. Let me start with Augustine. Augustine, please, let your question be within 1 minute, please.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Niger Watch. Thank you, Tony. Obviously, all what you've said, I've heard it from you several. I mean, you've been consistent. So this has been your gospel. And that is the gospel truth, if I may say so. But the thing is, given all you know about an average Nigerian voter, our politician, our people, because the question now is about the mechanism to let people understand that if we halt our election for 6 months, like you used to advocate, maybe 6 months advocate, extend the tenure, because you said it in the last election, extend the tenure of the current the regime then by 6 months and use that 6 months to sort this out. Since then, we are still at that point. Are you now frustrated, or do you think that this is realizable given the Nigerian political climate? Because that is the issue. The merit of the case is not in doubt. But what I'm asking is, are you still convinced that this is realizable? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Tony.
The people who live in that damnation, the people who live in that misery, have to choose by themselves whether they want to continue in their misery and die off one after the other. You talk as if it is one person crusading. There was Nadeko. I'm not a stranger to how it worked. Tinubu came from that circle. That's why he has nothing to say back to us right now. We pinpointed what the problem was. That was what consumed Abiola. Abiola did covenant to say that if he recovered his mandate, he will not govern with the constitution that turns everything upside down. That was why they killed him. Now, those who went into that fight with him, the minimum they owe him is to make sure that we get to the correct constitutional arrangement. And if after 24 years of telling the people who live in that damnation, at the time we convoked PRONAC, I'm sure you heard about PRONAC, 164 ethnic delegations spread across Nigeria. Ijo came as Ijo, Ogoni came as Ogoni, Yoruba came as Yoruba, Fulani came as Fulani. Muhammad Buhari was it was part of the Fulani delegation. Sayed Abubakar, that is now Sultan in Sokoto, was part of the Fulani delegation. And we reached a consensus after 2 years. The US sent us a mission. European Union sent us a mission. Because part of the problem is that our people talk as if it is a one-man suggestion, as if Tony Nnadi is sitting in one corner and just writing on the internet. Human beings gathered in that number. All the groups that were carrying arms against Nigeria at the time, we were able to get them to put their guns aside. Asari Dokuba and his Niger Delta Volunteer Force, Ghana Dance and his OPC. We're talking about a humongous engagement. It didn't need to be rowdy because we put on the table what needed to be done from that first day. The politicians are politicians everywhere, whether in the UK or in the US or in Nigeria. Sovereignty belongs to you, the people, not to them. The constituent components decide what they do with their sovereignty. The illicit federal government that emerged from the collapse of the Federation of Nigeria in 1966 hijacked the sovereignties of all these people. 200 million people milling around like people without any kind of content in the head. Okay, what is the talk of extension of tenure? It was on 16th of December in 2020 that we activated the constitutional force majeure after 20 years of building an alliance of the victims of unitary Nigeria. We came to the point where we said, we have become a majority. Let us insist that we will not proceed to the next election. 3 whole years. 3 whole years. There was no need to extend anybody's tenure. If the people who live in that damnation would be more honest with themselves. But between ignorance and dishonesty, they decided to rally themselves towards election. There were some other criminals down the road who were shouting, oh, give us Biafra, with no map, with no strategy whatsoever. Oh, Dua Republic, just collecting money from the Yoruba diaspora. So that was the kind of distraction. 3 whole years. Let us put aside what we were thinking before, work with this clear pathway. And so when the pain gets to a certain threshold, the pain is just beginning. When the pain gets to the appropriate threshold, people are being beheaded in Plateau. People are being killed in Southern Kaduna. People are being overrun in Benue. And you think it will not get to where you are? It is going to get everywhere, even the ones who are in the diaspora. Your status has changed. You have elected a celebrated drug merchant as your president. So all of you are suspects for drug. All of you are suspects for identity theft. All of you are suspects for forgery, the ones who want to go to school. So globally, we have submitted ourselves to avoidable catastrophe. We had a chance to stop the occurrence of this catastrophe. Even now, sovereignty resides with the people. We can stand up today to say we can no longer continue to allow a few people draw power and authority from this constitution in our name, because your name is actually on that constitution as the one who authorized your damnation. If all of these 200 million plus people cannot embrace a pathway, a strategy that can deliver them in a matter of weeks, then they truly deserve to perish. That will be my answer.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Tony. Thank you. Let me quickly take another person. Mr. Jonathan, do you have a question? If you don't have a question,
yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay,
yes,
please. You have only 1 minute. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Tony, thanks for being here today.
Yes, sir.
Having been, I've someone, my name is Jonathan. I've been following you, for some time. You've been advocating strongly for a constitutional reform. Yes, of course, you also advocated and you continue to advocate for reasons why there shouldn't be any election in Nigeria. In fact, you predicted the 2023 electoral mess, very well. So for me, the question is, it is therefore imperative to know your take on the 2023 electoral process with respect to 1, INEC, 2, the Election Petition Tribunal, 3, the Supreme Court. And then secondly is, do you see yourself or NINAS as a body that can openly work with the likes of Peter Obi or other like-minded Nigerians? Or you don't align with their position for the fact that they don't support or they don't align with your own position of no election in Nigeria until certain things are done, which you have enumerated. We all know, very robustly. Thank you very much, Mr. Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan. Mr. Tony, please go ahead.
The matter is straightforward. Let me start from where the question started. What do I say about INEC? What do I say about Supreme Court? What do I say about what is it, the third thing? The first blame, 95% of all the blame for what INEC did and all of what the courts did go to the people who decided to go to election under a crooked constitution. there was a reason we said, let us not go to election, because the centralized control of electoral system is reason election will never go right. So it is redundant to be talking about whether INEC will get it right or get it wrong. INEC is already upside down by the fact that in a federation, you have a group of people sitting in one corner of Abuja, responsible for voter register. So it is what they register for you that you have as number. PVC. It is what they give to you, you get. They can give to people in the Nigerian Republic, like we saw, and immigration people raise alarm that people from across the border, they could give to 9-year-old, 10-year-old, like we saw across the TV platforms. At the time, you were struggling. You had to close your business in Port Harcourt. You had to close your business in the south to be able to go get your PVC. And so it was already doomed to be the way it is designed to be so. And it is the constitution that has election on exclusive list that made it so. So the people who decided to go to that kind of a contest where your hands are tied to the back, the blame goes to them. I have nothing to say to INEC. INEC simply did what the constitution permitted them to do. Then we come to the judiciary. What was the judiciary? Judiciary is an arm is one of the three arms. The judiciary did what the system decided to do. The judiciary is not on your own side. That's why they embrace this constitution. And so, what do I say about what the judiciary did? They have done the business mandated by the constitution to select who will govern, to keep that constitution intact, to defy the constitution if they have to, because there was a requirement for 25%. A few hours from the time the election was called in February, a few hours after they did what they did, the people that work with us in Washington were asking us, what has happened in the space? It was NINAS that first told them that the person they declared winner of election did not score 25% in Federal Capital Territory required by the Constitution. Peter Obi got more votes than all of them put together. Even before they went to the election, it was the alliance we built to tell you where this matter is heading. For those who are talking about collaboration, the alliance we built that took us 20 years to build of the whole of the South and the whole of the Middle Belt to reject that constitution that was imposed by the caliphate on everybody, by which they became the owners of everybody's life. It was that alliance we built that some of our dishonest elders decided to convert into something else, to go and get power. We pleaded with them. You are dragging a knife, a sharp kitchen knife, with somebody. He has the wooden head. You hold the blade. Who is going to win that contest? We pleaded with them, went to them everywhere they were, to say, I'm talking about the South and Middle Belt Leadership Forum that presented to our people a different picture, as if the alliance we built is to go and get power. But the people who have to moderate, who have to organize that contest, are people who have their own agenda. They are operating a union of master and servant that exclude you. And then you decide to go and plunge yourself into that contest at a time you could join to say, we reject this constitution. We will have nothing to do with anybody who subscribes to that constitution, no matter what happens. The worst that can happen is that Nigeria will collapse unceremoniously. Right. By the time the blood flow ceases, everybody will come back to their senses. Peter Obi said with his mouth in the open that Nigeria is like a vehicle with a knocked engine. He said, brain box scatter. That the search should not be for a new driver, because there's nothing that new driver can do with a knocked engine in terms of driving it well. Meaning that the search should not be for a better president. The search should be for a replacement of the constitutional arrangement that put Nigeria upside down for 55 years. At what point did he buy the engine with which he was now loading the obedient movement? Where was he going to take them to? Have they not voted now? Has he become president? Is it not that constitution and the electoral management it creates? All the institutions are products of that constitution. So if you leave the source of if you leave the tap on and you come and say, let us collaborate. Collaborate in what? Can't we sit down and define the change we want? That was how they brought Buhari the other time. Change. Everybody jumped up. Change. What do you reject? What do you want in place of it? How do you get to it? South Africa settled this kind of a problem when apartheid constitution was taken down. We have moved faster than what it took them to, what it took Oliver Tambo and Mandela and Winnie to get that done in South Africa. Apartheid was introduced in 1910. It took 80 years, up to 1990. By the time the pressure, the people who lived in that apartheid, everybody joined to say, oh no, we can't proceed. And then the government of Frederick de Klerk was present-minded enough to announce that the society could no longer be sustained by that apartheid constitution. That is the challenge before us.
Okay.
Every other thing we do is a product of ignorance, and people are going, those who are living in that ignorance, those who are being dishonest in thinking that this constitution of death will deliver life to them, they are going to pay with their own blood. At the end of the day, the matter will still be resolved exactly as it has to be resolved. No other way.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tony. That is clear. I believe that response is very clear. As long as you have a mindset that you are working under this current constitution, NINAS have anything to do with you. So, okay, let me move on to the next person, which is give us a mandate. Give us a mandate. You only have 1 minute. Everybody, please, one minute for your question. Give us a mandate. Please unmute yourself. Pass your question if you're available. Give us a mandate. This is the third time we are calling you today. You don't answer none of them. Let me move on to Olumide. Olumide, if you are there, sir, please talk to us. 1 minute. Okay, Olumide, you are not available as well.
Hello?
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you have only
Can
1
you hear
minute. 1 minute. Give us a mandate. I'll come back to you, please. Somebody else is already talking. Let me come back to you, sir. Olumide, go ahead. 1 minute, sir. Thank you.
Tony, I just want to thank you for everything you've been doing. I've been following you for a couple of years now, most especially when you, at the time and at the point that you worked with the Akitoye movement, when you had them in your coalition, and we also all where that led to. But right now, what I'm most concerned about is how the people of Nigeria can get themselves out of this logjam. Whether we are going to come to a round table to discuss all of these issues and part amicably if we have to, or as I always say, as I've always said on this platform, I support the NINAS move that if we want to live together as one country, we need to draw a new document that we all subscribe to, that we all agree to, and that we all private to. Not that was
So, are you passing a
shut down our
question?
throat. So now at this point that we are at right now, what do you think is the way? Like I said, I'm more particular about the people who live in there, the common man. Things are getting worse. How can everybody come together to pull themselves out of this logjam, even if it means reaching out to the international community to kind of put pressure on
You
this
cannot
current
answer the
government?
question. You've passed your question already. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Olumide. Mr.
Thank you.
Tony, please. Thank you, sir. Mr. Tony, please go ahead.
Straightforward. Anybody who wants the solution to this problem, our advice is to say, go and get a copy of that constitutional force majeure. Even the international community had to enlighten themselves with it to prepare for what they will do with Nigeria. The big companies you hear living in Nigeria is because they've been paying attention. we raised a union dispute, which we put out in Guardian newspaper, 4 pages, to say this is what went wrong. This is how the union was put together. This is what went wrong with it. These are the constitutional grievances across board. The Niger Delta is crying about their oil and gas. The Middle Belt is crying about being beheaded. The Yoruba say they want more autonomy. The Biafra people are with the Eastern people are waving Biafra flag. Everybody is at everybody's throat. But this is what we are going to do, because the Constitution of Nigeria imposed unilaterally by one segment of the country since 1979 is the problem arising from the outcome of the war of 1967. That's what the problem is. The solution we are going to have to apply to it is that all of us who are lamenting the torment of Nigeria must now stand together in the alliance we call Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. If you look at that name alone, you will see that the Fulani that come from Mauritania and Senegal with guns to conquer the place and take the land for themselves do not belong to that fold. Yet they're the ones who impose this constitution. But they have elements from your backyard and my backyard, renegades, who go to join them and swear to defend and uphold that constitution. So everybody else can be confused, but NINAS is not confused. The 5-point proposition we made in December of 2020 is still as potent as it was in 2020 as today. The fact that they went to election does not change anything. The sovereignty still resides with the Yoruba owners, with the Ijo owners, with the Igbo owners, with the Tiv owners. Together, they can stand up today and say, this constitution cannot remain the basis of this madness we witnessed in Abuja and in the state capitals. It is the constitution that creates everything that is being done, creates the National Assembly that is stealing money, creates the executive branch that is looting and borrowing into our future all over the world. And so what we need to do now is to put aside what we were thinking before and work with the reality, work with truth, work with strategy that can work. We only need to say we reject this constitution, all of us saying it. The international community has already done for us what we went to ask them to do. It fell on me to lead the engagement with the international community. We went to the UN.
Okay.
We were privileged to have Wole Soyinka in our fold at the time. It fell on me to request him to go to Kofi Annan. The instrument from the UN, the one they called the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. It's under that instrument that Scotland went to referendum the other day. That instrument came out of that UN from that venture of asking Wole Soyinka to meet Kofi Annan when he was secretary. These were the things that have been done in the international circuit. The UN Security Council looked at the matter in an informal way and then sent a rapporteur mission led by Agnes Callamard. Google Agnes Callamard and see that the UN itself pinpointed our constitution of Nigeria as pressure cooker for injustice, that everything going wrong with Nigeria is coming from that constitution. How can people who have education in that country be holding onto that constitution as basis of union, as basis of democracy, and they're crying now with the outcome they see? We went to the UN, to the US, and we showed the US evidence of the fact that ISIS had relocated to our sub-region and that our president, Muhammad Buhari, was their chief host. They have formed ISWAP. Buhari was the spokesman of Boko Haram. You remember when Jonathan wanted a meeting, he was pressured into calling for a meeting with them in Saudi Arabia. It was Muhammad Buhari that was their nominee to speak for them. Muhammad Buhari was also, in fact, is still life grand patron of Miyetti Allah. Miyetti Allah constantly comes to national TV to take credit and very proudly too for what Fulani herdsmen were doing. The Fulani herdsmen that were adjudged the fourth most deadly terror group on earth in the same space where Boko Haram was functioning. and ISIS came and they all become ISWAP. So we went to Capitol Hill. Again, it fell on me to lead that discussion, to show the Americans who were fighting with ISIS in the Middle East that ISIS had relocated to our space. Buhari was president at the time, and we showed them evidence of his involvement in the killings that were happening, in the onslaught that was going on, that it was Fulani invasion to take over the lands of the owners of the lands the British confiscated into their project they call Nigeria. And they put Nigeria on the watch list, and later put Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That was why all of what Buhari did to overrun the whole country and the Ruga he wanted to do, that was how we were able to contain him and get him out of the way. Now we come back home to say, having done all of this, can we now, this engagement with Washington happened in 2019. For 7 months, the US government was paying attention, interrogating. Senators sat down, State Department sat down. Policy came out of State Department that put Nigeria where they couldn't complete what Buhari was trying to do. We do all of that, and people sit in one corner pretending that nothing was going on because they were not the ones. I don't know what they think. And look at where their indolence, their dishonesty has brought everybody. And then you came to contest election under such a constitution that guarantees the death of other people and the affluence of those holding them hostage. Anybody who voted in this election deserves any kind of calamity that befalls him. Anybody who is part of political party, because all the political parties in Nigeria subscribe to that constitution without exception. So anybody who will contest election in Nigeria under that constitution, whether it's running for Senate or running for House of Assembly or running for presidency, is a criminal, clear-minded criminal, no exception. And none of them will be better than the other. And I tell you, when things will snap, they will be treated as the criminals they are, because this constitution has been doing this kind of atrocity to the people since 1999. It doesn't bother them.
Okay.
Peter Obi was still governor in Anambra when Chinua Achebe in 2012. Chinua Achebe called our people into, he tried to get them to come to listen to this, 2012. That was why when Jonathan was still president and Peter Obi was vice chairman of the economic, the one where the governors and the federal government economic council. At the time, the APC people were trying to chase Jonathan out. Peter Obi said at that time that it is not the presidency of Nigeria that is the problem, that it is the constitution of Nigeria that was the problem. He came to Orlando. He came to Orlando to World Igbo Congress Convention in that attempt to get our people to listen in private. Our people refused to listen. That's how we got to where we are now. And so it is a straightforward matter.
Let's take
the Olumide that asked about what happened there. The Yoruba is still very much in the alliance. The only person that left was Akintoye. And Akintoye did not have any movement of his own. Akintoye was only invited by us at the request of the Yoruba elements involved with us. And then on account of his age and exposure, we wanted, we decided to entrust him with the position of chairmanship. But he went 180 degrees away from where we were going. And the people that brought him, just expelled him. The people that brought him to our fold, he was in our fold less than 2 years for a project that had been 20 years before he came. You saw when he began to congratulate Tinubu, at the time we were saying that the election has ended in fiasco and interregnum, that we don't have a government at this time. Tinubu is in power, but he does not have authority. That is where we are now. And what NINAS has is the only potent weapon already on the table by which we can arrest the state capture that is going on, which is a compoundment of the conquest agenda the Fulani were driving. We have state capture going on now. Individuals who are established in crime, taking over everything that belongs to Nigeria.
Okay, Mr. Tony, let's take another question quickly. Thank you very much for that answer. to Mr. Olumide. Okay, let me call on Black Panther. Okay, before Black Panther, let me come back to give us a mandate again. Give us a mandate. Are you available to?
No, don't worry. Go to him. Go to him. Don't worry. Go to him.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, Black Panther, please, if you're available, pass your question within 1 minute, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Niger Watch, and thank you, Mr. Tony. God will bless you. I'm a student of a new face of Nigeria. That is to say, I'm a student of a new constitution. I've been preaching this same gospel for long, but I've been rebuked. I want to ask now, how do we bring Nigerians into the folds so that we can form a formidable force that will have cells all over Nigeria to preach that gospel so that it can sink in and we can have a formidable force? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tony.
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. The matter, again, is straightforward. Moderator, permit the last speaker to answer for himself.
Okay.
Whether he was present the day in a clubhouse session that lasted 3 hours, the day the young people who were following Utomi all over the place, all over the years, the day they brought Utomi to come to explain to everybody why leadership is what we need to fix, and I was there to tell the same audience that the constitution is what we need to fix. The person that asked the question, were you present in that meeting? I think it was Knights and Cardinals Clubhouse.
Black Panther, are you listening?
I listened to it, but I went off because I had a very big assignment to do right here. So I listened to it halfway, but I went off.
Okay. As I speak with you, the recording has gone viral the third time since after it happened. And the position of Utomi was comprehensively defeated because he was also involved with us across the many years. He was in PRONAC. And every time he would go and buy form to contest the election, telling young people that it's leadership that has to be fixed. And we say, no, constitution is the reason we can't get at anything better than what we have had. He refused. Where is he today? Did you not hear him say that the constitution is the problem that needs to be solved a few weeks ago? Did you not see it? After wasting 30 years of preaching what will not work. The same thing with Obasanjo. Some of us were directly involved in how he went from prison to government house. We attended his inauguration in 1999 just for him to solve this problem. He was Nzogu's roommate. That's Obasanjo. He was present at the time this problem was being created, every step of the way. Eventually, it was him they used in 1979 to impose this constitution. And when he came back in 1999, we thought that somebody of his experience, somebody of his involvement, who will be eager to solve the problem. We went to him. We know quietly, this is what we need to do. He took the parts of what we brought that enabled him to entrench himself, and then he became the worst opposition to solving the problem. Election after election, things kept going worse. Where are we now? Obasanjo went to Port Harcourt a few months ago to say, since after this election, because when he said he was supporting, when he announced his endorsement of P2B in January of 2023, I had to issue a rejoinder to ask him, why are you loading young people into a vehicle without engine? He shut him down. Today, he has made a U-turn. He went to Port Harcourt to tell everybody that everything we do will come to naught except we go and fix the constitutional foundation of Nigeria. You saw Emeka Anyoku the other day. You saw Kingsley Moghalu the other day. All coming out to now say constitution is the problem. And none of them has found the courage to go back to the people who realized that from the beginning, and who have put a process, a template, a strategic roadmap that has been done, executed more than 80%. None of them had the discipline. None of them had the honesty to go back to say, NINAS is right. Let us suspend any business under that constitution. And we have NINAS offered those in government house an accommodation in this matter. We said, if Buhari had listened, if Jonathan had not, if Jonathan was allowed to do what needed to be done in 2014, because the conference of 2014, because some of them will say, some people will say, oh, let's go and bring back and implement 2014. NINAS will not touch 2014 conference report because the conferees, the delegates, decided on the floor of the conference that they will not visit the Constitutional Foundation of Nigeria. So everything they did in that conference went to naught. We told them we were not going to participate and that it will collapse on their head. That's how it ended. And so we're just saying that they kept going to election after election under a constitution that guaranteed the calamity that was befalling Nigeria on all fronts.
Okay.
And so right now, in the first quarter of 2024, people are already coming for Christmas. Those who are going to Eastern Nigeria, of course, they are going to do Biafra, Olu, and when they behead enough of them, they will come back to looking for the appropriate solutions to the problem. But in the first quarter of next year, right after the Christmas, NINAS will be issuing an altar call. But before that altar call, that is, let those who want to see an end of this long-running disaster come on one side by signing up to say, we now agree that we must solve this problem. That's all they need to do. If they listen to instructions, it won't take us 3 months to finish what is left of this problem. Those in government house already can remain on a transitional basis. We have no quarrel with people. If what we are discussing is how to replace people in government house, it won't take 1 week to get rid of anybody in government house. But that's not the solution to the problem. They've done coup many times. And the people who are talking about a revolution, which revolution can be deeper than toppling the constitution of a country? Like South Africa had to, the black South Africans had to topple the apartheid constitution. It is their freedom. It is their sovereignty they had to recover. Every other thing was a waste of time. And so there's no revolution bigger than what NINAS is. Just that it's a staggered revolution, just that it is being done in a manner that will, minimize human collateral damage.
Okay.
All of those who want change can come, are invited. We're going to formally welcome them and direct them on the actions they want to take if they want an end. But if they choose to keep playing pranks, of course, we wait for their pain to increase sufficiently for them to become honest. Because that's what we're dealing with. People are being dishonest. And I've been calling their names so that you can know the people that have led us to this ditch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tony. I really appreciate your time with us today. In fact, even me myself, I'm learning a lot today, to be honest. There are so many things that I have not heard before, and I'm hearing them right now. It means a lot. But meanwhile, we still have about 1 or 2 to go on the panel. I would like to go to Mr. Alex, then I'll try give us a mandate again after that. Mr. Alex, it's good to have you on the panel. Please, I would like you to go straight to the point with your question, if you have any.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Nnadi, for this convocation. Unusual. I want to say, Mr. Tony, thank you. By the grace of God, as a political scientist for donkey years now, I want to bring my question from a different angle. Don't you think? Yes, I totally agree with 95% of what you do and everything. Yes, you are right. But I think we are missing something. It's just a question. I think our problem goes beyond us. It goes beyond our leaders. Our leaders, yes, they are the primary problem, but there is the unseen forces. For example, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger Republic, and Guinea, they've all chased away France from their country, and they've changed their language, and they are changing their currencies. They are changing things. Don't you think Buckingham Palace should be put where they belong when it comes to Nigeria? For example, why was Nnadi Kanu taken, and he has a British citizenship, and the British government just kept quiet about it? and the Lekki toll gate issue has not been raised against the practice of the international community and international, rule of engagement during the war.
Okay.
So I think there are bigger forces who are fighting us than our main leaders, who become traitors, who become betrayers, who are saboteurs. We need to look at the neo-colonial tendencies of the British involvement in our government. What do you think? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Mr. Tony, please, if you can take that. Thank you.
I will give you 3 answers to the 3 components of your question. The first answer having to do with the role of Britain in what has happened to us as a country and what is happening to us even now. Let those who are listening, this might be the turning point in all of what they were thinking before. Let those who are listening get on YouTube right now. Alex, starting with you, get on YouTube. Type for search Nigeria, a pyramid of evil. Nigeria, a pyramid of evil, which was where we brought out the British for their role in what became Nigeria and how it is being organized to date. We put a hierarchy of demons with headquarters in Buckingham Palace, followed by the Sokoto Palace, that's the Caliphate. Between the 2 of them, in that order, they impose what has become constitution for us without reference to anybody else. Underneath that constitution, you now see government. And because we are now unitary, it is the federal government. The states have no powers to do anything. Then at the base of that pyramid are the peoples of Nigeria living in the disaster that has lasted over 100 years. If you watch that broadcast, you will see that nobody has called out the British more than we have done. Not only calling them out, the actions we initiated to topple that arrangement they imposed on us is what has become this force majeure that is being implemented now. And there's nothing they're going to be able to do about it. Going to Burkina Faso and the rest of the countries of West Africa, they have a country they only needed to recover from those in government house. That's the difference. We do not have such a country. They have Burkina Faso that was hijacked by Fulani, the man that was a topple. Buhari is, coronated most of them. They are working for the French, just like our own renegades are working for Britain here. So we have a deeper problem. For those who are thinking that anybody can come now and say, oh, I do revolution, oh, I take over power. How many times have soldiers gone to take over power in Nigeria? There is no Nigeria we commonly subscribe to. I cannot be in the same political union with any section that imposes Sharia that requires them to kill me as infidel. So there's no Nigeria. What we have as Nigeria is a fraud as defined by the constitution that is in place. And those who do not understand the meaning of constitution will think it is that document that is painted in green, white, green. No, it is the fact of union agreement, union arrangement. That is that we agree to be in one political union. That is what the constitution documents with all the terms we discussed. And so when our original agreement to be in one union was toppled, our union died in 1966. Those who do not understand should understand. There's no Nigeria. I'm not prepared to lift a finger in defense of the Nigeria, the monster, the Nigeria defined by this unitary arrangement, by this imposition. Rather, I'm prepared to invest whatever it will take to put that monster to death. And so we're on a construction site where 75%, including me, are struggling to pull down the construction. And the other 25% who do not know what the problems are struggling to keep it going. Between Sharia And you can see there are 12 contiguous states. Sokoto, Kebbi, Kanu, Jigawa, all the way to Borno. 12 contiguous states simultaneously, mark my words, 12 contiguous states simultaneously imposing Sharia in a secular union. Our contention, which we have taken to the international circuit, is that they have seceded from the Federation of Nigeria. Because as disputed as that Constitution 1999 is, at Section 10, it says, the government of the Federation or that of a state shall not impose any state, adopt any state religion. Full stop. That's a section. That is what makes Nigeria a secular state. So when 12 contiguous states will simultaneously adopt Sharia, the governors, the House of Assembly passed it, the governors signed it and formed what they call hills by the Sharia police and began to dislocate other people from other parts of Nigeria. In the Nigerian Union that included those 12 states, the secular union we thought we were building ended in addition to the federation that was toppled. And so we have no Nigeria that anybody can recover in whole, except we first agree. So that kind of revolution in which somebody will go and announce, topple the government and announce a new thing and expel France cannot happen here because of the underlying problems. We have no common country that we can stand up to defend. If anything were to happen to Nigeria today, you'll be surprised that more than 80% will join that thing that will beat down Nigeria to die, so that they can free, because Nigeria seized their land. Ijo is crying because Nigeria seized its land and water and the oil and gas taken from the place, killing them. Kensaro Uwa complained they hung him. You saw what happened in Odi. They leveled it. What is the problem? Why can't the job be on the table to discuss how we cohabit with those who are going to partake? And you have somebody saying, as long as Nigeria is in place, the oil of Bayelsa belongs to Jigawa, and the owners are not welcome to the table of discussion. It cannot stand. So let us not delude ourselves into thinking that we have a Nigeria that can become great. We either go and create that Nigeria, and NINAS has set in place a mechanism by which we can do all of that without going to Somalia first. But if they choose to make it a rifle shot, because that's where they seem to be going, we'll beat you up. We see where they end. Then the third leg of the question that had to do with, what was it again? He talked about what the British and what the other, what Burkina Faso, what was the third leg of the question? We have something on the table that can solve this problem. Knowledge is key. Anything you do in ignorance, and the system has deliberately imposed ignorance compounded by the poverty they're inflicting on people, or you think it's by accident that they're impoverishing the people. It is a containment plan to make sure that those who should have pushed back are not able to stand up on their feet. Everybody's struggling for what to eat. Everybody's struggling for how to survive to the next day.
Okay.
We must get hold of knowledge in order to tackle this monster. Otherwise, it will swallow everybody. It has swallowed Peter Obi's mandate. Everybody thought that once we go and vote, the matter will be resolved. You have voted. The mandate was swallowed. And there's nothing anybody can do about it as long as that constitution is in place.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tony. Even as you're talking right now, we are going through your website, ninasvoice.org. I can see that you guys are very, very prepared. And I wanted to look for the exact date that this NINAS was founded. Can you please tell us? Because that's what I'm looking for right now.
Yes, NINAS began from the immediate aftermath of NADECO. The reason we're not going to include NADECO as the foundation of it is that some of those that did NADECO went on to do other things. And so right at the point in 1999 when that constitution was imposed by the departing military, the very conveners of NADECO, the ones who called other people out to go and do NADECO, that got the soldiers out of government house, went into another initiative of now sorting out the constitutional arrangement by which we can go into that democracy properly. It was civil rule in 1999. To go to democracy, you have to bring a constitutional arrangement that can now give you democracy. What we have now is far from democracy, because the three legs of democracy that you know, government of the people, by the people, for the people. Let me explain the meaning so that you can know why we say we don't have a democracy, and so you can understand where we took off from and how we landed where we are now. We had to change, we had to operate in many names, different names, depending on what we had, because we had to conceal what we were doing from the enemy that would have stopped it. It's like in Nigeria that they have a power holding company. It was NEPA for many, many years. Before it became NEPA, it was ECN, Electronic Corporation of Nigeria, Company of Nigeria, Corporation of Nigeria or something. ECN that became NEPA and then became what's they call a PSCN of today. Now, from that point on, the first initiative was to call a meeting of the owners. I'm sure you heard about PRONAC before. Did you ever hear about PRONAC?
Yes.
PRONAC was the unfinished business of NADECO. Enohoro, that was the head of NADECO, was the chief convener. Shrinka, that was doing Nalicon at the time, but working with them, co-convener. All the Ukiwes and Mdumisicanos and all everybody that was anybody in the authentic NADECO became the conveners of PRONAC, in which we started by a meeting of everybody to say, look, the British have left, the soldiers have left. Let us sit down, the owners of Nigeria. Everybody stand on your father's plot. Yoruba came as Yoruba, Ijo came as Ijo. Everybody came from their own, standing on their father's plot. Little Ogoni, Little Isoko, Big Urobo. And we were there, we were at it for 2 years. By the time we announced we were going to have a meeting of the owners of Nigeria, the Obasanjo that should have been, providing a secretariat for that action, went on national TV to say that it will amount to treason if we called a meeting of the owners of Nigeria. And we told him that our sovereignty is not subject to him and whatever he thinks, that is inconsequential. And we went on to that meeting that lasted 2 years. We sat at plenary in Lagos, sat at plenary in Port Harcourt, sat at plenary in Enugu, Ojukwu hosting Enugu. We sat at plenary in Jos, we sat at plenary in Kanu, and came to conclude in Lagos. The US sending observer mission, EU sending observer mission. That was the size of the undertaking at that beginning, to say the owners of Nigeria will have to decide how they want to live together and if they actually want to live together. From that PRONAC, the enforcement of it, the enforcement of the consensus that was reached, because we had a draft constitution based on the positions of the constituent components. They had worked out the formations in which they could relate away from what Nigeria imposed on them in form of states and local government areas. It then became Movement for New Nigeria. That Movement for New Nigeria was the alliance of the South and Middle Belt, and now excluding those who pressed on with Sharia, MNN. And we called it Movement for New Nigeria, knowing fully well that if we do not find common ground, it will then become in reality Movement for No Nigeria, because that Nigeria was a mere geographical expression. That Nigeria had become a torment to the people whose sovereignties are detained by the malfeasances of Britain and the Caliphate, joint venture. And so that MNN, you saw the map. I'm sure you've seen. You've seen. You can put it on display since you have a visual. That emblem of NINAS. The portion in yellow is that 12 contiguous states that seceded from our secular union in year 2000, simultaneous year 2000. Then you see the balance of the map. You will see the Yoruba block delineated. you see the eastern half of southern Nigeria, that's the lower Niger, delineated. And the balance is the middle belt, more than 100 language groups. In the lower Niger, you have almost 20. But Yoruba is lucky one language, apart from the Igbo, who really are not totally different. And so it is the alliance of these three. The Hausa that own the land of Sokoto and Kanu and all the rest up there, they are indigenous people. But because of that question of Sharia, I'm sure you've heard about the Hausa talking about indigenous Hausa, the emancipation movement. They have observer status in NINAS, but we informed them that it will be taken in 2 layers. That the invaders from across the West African sub-region, the Fulani that are invading from everywhere to take over everybody's things, that if we do not find a workable strategy to break their backbone and throw away the constitution they impose on us, nobody will recover anything. So the Hausa will still recover their land that the Fulani took from them since 1804.
All right.
But it will be in the second layer. And so NINAS was where, after getting the nationalities to make out their constitutions and their charters of relationship, like in the eastern half of southern Nigeria, the Urobo, the Anang, the Efik, the Ijo, the Ogoni, the Igbo, all of them. If you go to YouTube now and click Solemn Assembly of the Peoples of Lower Niger, you will see the leaders of all the armed groups, all the groups that have ever been involved in agitation. Look at that video, the recording of the Solemn Assembly of the Peoples of Lower Niger, so you can see that the actual people that organize what happens on ground, not internet tigers, the people that control the guns by which they've executed their agitations all these years, you will see them. And so we ended up with a charter of relationship that is still in process. It has to be ratified by more involvement of people who were not there in that 2015. In the Yoruba side, they went to Adamakasiba Stadium on the 7th of September in 2017 in their own solemn assembly. In July of 2018, the Middle Belt did their own. All those nationalities, the Tiv, the Joko, the Doma, went to do this. What were they doing? They were formally repudiating this constitution as basis of Nigeria. The international community was paying attention because we kept getting invitations to come to explain to them. The only people that were not paying attention were the ones living in that mess. And so it was when they had done their solemn assemblies, they now came together in what we call the Freedom Park Proclamation. That was the first time the nationalities that we were inviting into this action, who had never been on the table of discussion, had come forward. And so we said, the organizations that were leading this, like the Lower Niger Congress that was leading from the eastern flank, southern Nigeria, we had done our work. The nationalities have now come forward. And so we then changed the name to reflect the fact that they've come forward. Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. So that was how NINAS came into the nomenclature. So it was the same process that was commenced in 1999 that became PRONACO, moving on to become MNN, and finally moving to become the NINAS that is enforcing the sovereignty and asserting the self-determination of today. It does not matter what anybody in government thinks. Government is a management team in an enterprise that is owned by the owners of the sovereignties. That is why they say sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom government, through this constitution, derives all its powers and authority. I now remember, I'm done with this last question, and I remember what was left in the other one. The one that talked about why Nnadi Kanu is being held.
Yeah.
I can report to us that before Nnadi Kanu began his broadcast in 2013, when IPOB, he separated himself from Uwazurike that recruited him into the mass-up they were doing, and the radio they floated in London. The people that helped him to procure the transmitter, what he was going to use to broadcast. He invited him to come to sit down with us to learn what we will use. That is, that radio platform should have been used to enlighten our people. All those things, all those videos you watch of what we are trying to tell our people, that radio should have been what will be used to, what will have been used to enlighten our people about what the problem is, so that if we take down that constitution, everybody will recover their sovereignty. Nnadi Kanu came and sat down with me in Victoria Land for 4 hours. I brought all the documents of this matter that have been on since 1999. We were almost, because at that point, Jonathan had become president. Ijaw people had compelled Jonathan to listen to us. And Jonathan had embraced what we were saying, organizing the conference that was to come a short while after. Nnadi Kanu rejected everything you've had me say now. And there were 8 points of strategy. Where is the map of the territory you call Biafra? He has no map of where it begins and where it ends. He said to me in that meeting that everybody knows where Biafra ends and where it begins. The Biafra of 1967 that was rejected by the Ijaw and the other non-Igbo nationalities. Have you gone to sit down with them to agree with you that you have to restore that Biafra? Because it will include their land if you call it Biafra. He said, no, you don't need to talk to them. They were the ones that spoiled the first one. And on each occasion, each question I asked him, of those 8 questions, I am addressing this in this detail so that those who are sitting around in London talking about Biafra, you can see what Simon Ekpa is doing. People are being killed in large numbers in eastern Nigeria because a few people decide to scam others. The entire Biafra restoration campaign, we have dealt with 42 different Biafra groups, starting with Uwazurike's mass up. And when I say we, I was involved eyeball to eyeball with the leaders of all of those groups, including the ones who are outside Nigeria. These are clear-minded criminals. These are clear-minded criminals who are not involved in the campaign to liberate our people. They only tapped into the goodwill, the enormous and humongous goodwill associated with the Biafra of 1967. Because none of them can answer any of those 8 questions that we placed on the table from the beginning. They have no map. They have not discussed with the owners of the land that will be involved if you call it Biafra. The third question I asked him, I said, the Constitution of Nigeria is the instrument by which Nigeria is occupying that space. If you say you want the place freed from Nigeria's occupation into freedom, what is your strategy for how to take down that constitution? Because as long as that constitution is in place, Nigeria is the owner of the place in the eyes of the world. Nigeria will continue to do what it's doing. The army base in Enugu 82 division will remain there. Bori camp will remain there. Police will remain in your community. Anything you do, they will criminalize and shoot at you. And it will be shoot aside legitimately. Because they own the monopoly of ammunition and arms. He said, you are still talking about Constitution of Nigeria, with Biafra we want. That was what Nnadi Kanu answered me in 2013. He doesn't see any role the Constitution is playing, whereas Constitution is 100% of the problem you are trying to solve. You don't know that Constitution is the one of, is like apartheid Constitution was what took the land of South African blacks. That's number 3. Number 4, I asked him, in 1967, 66, when things went bad and it became 67 that became war, there was an alliance of the rest of Nigeria that isolated the Igbo heartland. What is your answer? Because Nigeria is still selling 3 million barrels of crude oil every day. What is your answer to that alliance that still depends on that crude oil for its own upkeep? That's the only money Nigeria has that is together. We have gone to talk to all the people. The Ijaw are in with us. The Yoruba are in with us. The Middle Belt in with us. What will you do if you say, oh, I want to restore Biafra, and then immediately they go back to their alliance because they have to protect their oil. That was what consumed 5 million lives in eastern Nigeria in 1967 to 70. He said, don't bring anybody, anything you discuss with Yoruba will fail. It was the middle belt that did the shooting against, as if Ojukwu that was involved with us did not know, as if Ebitukiwe did not know, as if Kanu did not know, as if Sisiono did not know, as if Achebe has never heard of it. He said to me that Yoruba will disappoint you if you bring them into any alliance. Middle belt were the ones that killed us. Yeah, he just doesn't understand what we are discussing. That was his answer. Is that not number 4 now? Number 5, I said to him, if you were to succeed in this, what will be the landing mechanism? We have something that is structured to end the referendum. This is how far we have gone. I showed him what we had done at the UN at the time. He said to me, if anybody talks about referendum, we will kill that person because Nigeria will rig any referendum. Those of them who have been in Biafra in this so-called Biafra, all kinds of Biafra agitation groups, will remember that that was their position, that nobody should talk about referendum. We went to the next one, the matter of interface with the existing constitutional order. We have a process that will go in an orderly manner with all the pressures. If anybody is talking about pressure, it wasn't for nothing that we first had to bring together all the groups that were carrying arms already, including those in government. It came to where we sat down with Autumn. It was our interaction with Autumn that led to that thing you saw in Benue, where he rolled out the tanks and the men in uniform. So when you have the ones from the Niger Delta agitation and the Ghanaians and his OPC and those operating in the middle belt at the time and all kinds of other groups, we are not ignorant of the fact that it was by force of arms that our territory was taken from us from the time the British came to when the Fulani compounded it. We are in military uniform of Nigeria. And so what is your landing? Because if you do not have a mechanism that can safeguard those who are in that campaign, they are going to criminalize you and shoot you aside every step you take. He said, no, that because we're talking about existing governance order, existing constitutional order. You can see what NINAS has done. There are step-by-step. We started by calling a meeting of the owners. Then we went to court in 2007 to say this constitution is a fraud. 2007, it fell on me to file that suit against the legitimacy of that constitution, not the legality. The constitution is legal, but it's not legitimate. Many lawyers don't know this. And so, step by step, it will come to where they can't proceed anymore because we also had in that, it was a 20-year plan. I showed him that plan. And I gave him all those documents, including the documents at the foundation of what the British did that our fathers did not know. He rejected every one of those things. He said it was conquer and occupy they were doing. You saw what happened in 2015 when, what was the conquer and occupy? That they will infuriate young people enough to come on the street that they will shoot some of them. By the time they kill a certain number, the international community will come. That was what he answered me. So it was always a part of their plan to put people in the homeland in harm's way. You can see that that's what they are still doing to today. Simon Ekpa has carried on with that criminality of wasting the blood of innocent people at home in order to sustain their scam that will never lead to anything, even in 50 years.
All right, Mr. Tony.
These people that are doing this, we have told them before. I'm sure many of them are listening. We are going to treat them. We are going to treat them like the criminals they are. We are going to treat them like people who murdered other people. We are not bothered with what they are doing with the Nigerian police and army. That's of no interest to us. The one that is of interest to us is that they are deliberately killing our people in the homeland in order to sustain their scam, collecting money from our people all over the world. Meanwhile, as I speak with you, to tell you the depth of the criminality, as I speak with you, not one of them, none of them has ever met with anybody in the US government to this date. Everything you saw was Photoshop. In fact, by the time the people who were dealing with us in Washington had to now take on the one that touched on their national security, when we came to tell them that ISIS was embedding itself in West Africa and that Buhari was at the center of receiving them, the first thing they told me was that they had investigated our campaign and they were satisfied we were not involved with the scam. That was how they described the IPOB, Washington. And I'm reporting to you, if anybody listening to this broadcast and those who will listen after, if anybody finds out anything to the contrary, I will be more than glad to engage evidence of it. They have never met with anybody from any department of government in the US. They have never met with anybody at the UN.
All right, Mr. Tony.
I led the team that went to Washington and got results. The videos are there. The documents we submitted are there. The policy actions that came from US government are there.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. Thank you, sir. I can see Mr. Alex, you raising your hand.
Yes.
Hold on. There were 8 items. I've listed 7 so far.
Okay.
The last was the matter of no. I've listed 6. The one of using the Biafra name tag for that campaign. Say, look, all of those who led that war are involved in what we are doing. Are you more Biafran than Ojukwu himself, or Achuzie himself, who are all involved with us? Leave that word Biafra. The moment you say it's Biafra you want to restore, you have made your campaign impossible. 2/3 of the land that constituted the Biafra of 1967 now fall into the what you call the Niger Delta. The whole of River State, the whole of Bayelsa, the whole of Akwa Ibom, the whole of Cross River State. If you say you want to do Biafra restoration, you have already put their land in controversy. If you step into their land, they are going to shoot you. If they have not agreed with you, it only means you want to swallow them. This is our discussion with them. We all agree we're going to put the Biafra name aside. Let us talk about self-determination. Let us talk about our sovereignty. Let us talk about, call it any other name, but leave Biafra out of it. He said no. That it is only Biafra, that is, just refusing every single, and the last one was the international community. When things broke down in 1966, it was the British that turned it into war. I had in my team until the day he was buried in Uromi, Chief Anthony Enohoro. I had in my team until the day he was buried in Nnewi, Dim Chukwuemeka Odimegwu Ojukwu. The day Jonathan came to Nnewi for the farewell ceremonies for Ojukwu that had departed, at the request of the family, I had to be the one to receive. So to tell you the extent of involvement of these our men, doesn't Nnamdi Kanu know anything about our people more than these men and Tino Achebe them? And the Bitukiwe that is still alive? That he will be wasting the blood of our people in a scam that is known to him to be a scam. He is a clear-minded criminal. And when in 2015, Alex, I want you to listen and I want you to take notes and verify these things, because what you guys are doing in the name of Biafra restoration is a crime against our people, and it will be punished very severely, very, very severely.
Can we communicate? Can we have a conversation, sir? For 1 minute.
Mr. Evans, I have a question, please, so that this can be an interactive section.
Everybody, hold on. Okay, Mr. Tony, please round up, because they want to ask you a question. Round up in like 30 seconds.
Yes, I'm going to answer their questions. In 2015, they grabbed him. They arrested Nnamdi Kanu, took him to court. Incidentally, I was at the center of the collapse of the treason trial of Asari Dokubo in 2007 when Obasanjo grabbed him before. Between 2004 and 7. It was that shoot. I'm giving you specifics that you can all verify. It was that shoot we filed against the constitution that collapsed the treason trial of Asari Dokubo in 2007 and Wazirike, his mate.
Okay.
And so, Teyamo was their lawyer, you all remember. It was because we went to court. My name is on my name is on the court orders by which those matters were resolved. When they brought Henry Oka from Angola, again, they couldn't bring him to court because we told Nigeria that anybody you bring to court on account of what the person is doing to reject what you are doing in their space will be in court to ask you by which constitution are you alleging.
All right, Mr. Tony, let me quickly take one or two questions. Thank you very much, sir. To be honest,
you see, I'm discussing something that is costing human lives, even as we speak. You saw Simon Ekpa talking about sit at home from 15th to 19th. As I speak with you, people are already being killed on account of what they are doing. People who return from overseas.
Okay, sir. Before we pass it,
criminals are carrying on
Mr. Tony, I would like to quickly ask you this briefly before I come to the panel. Is Samuel Ekpa and Nnadi Kanu working together?
Very much so. And I'm not reporting to you what somebody else told me. I'm sure Simon Ekpa will be listening to this broadcast now. I was in the outreach. In the outreach we had undertaken to all the groups that were doing one kind of agitation or the other, whether in the east or in the west or in the Niger Delta. Let Simon Ekpa come out to say that I was not the first to. I contacted him when he was doing One Nigeria and quarreling with the people doing Biafra on Facebook. I said, these people are complaining about something that is real, but they are going about it in a manner that will not lead anywhere. Why don't you take this alternative? I passed all our documents to him for him to study it and now offer it to them since he was already involved with them in the manner. By that time, we had shut down with them long time ago. It was those materials I get to Simon Ekpa that he now used to work his way to Nnamdi Kanu, who then elevated him above the people that were working with him. Okay. So he joined the gang because he brought the skill of photoshopping. It was Simon Ekpa that was using the materials of what we were doing, some of which were still secret, to now put Nnamdi Kanu's picture in the center of events he knew nothing about.
All right, Mr. Tony, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
They are together in that crime. There's no difference. Okay. There's nothing that there's never a time they were apart.
Okay, that's fine. Let me quickly come to Mr. Alex, please, 30 seconds. Please.
Yes, Mr. Nadawo, thank you. Mr. Tony, many things you said that I disagree with you on some ground. Number one, this is not a Biafra platform. When you generalize or say, you guys who are doing Biafra, I'm not a Biafra person, but number two, sir, number two. Yes, number two, from what I can remember, what led to Nnamdi Kanu escalation against Buhari's government was a massive killings and Fulani invasion of different parts of the country, which gave rise to Igboho starting Oduduwa struggle.
Okay, all right.
And also in Benin City, Fulanis also killed many people.
Mr. Alex, it's okay now, please. It's okay, please. You don't have that time yet.
Hold on. If it was Fulani invasion, that was the problem. Was it what Nnamdi Kanu was doing that will stop them in Yoruba land and the Middle Belt where they were sacking all kinds of people? And we who had to go to the world powers. And I'm telling you what you can verify tonight. Find out whether we did not get to Congress. Find out whether we did not get to State Department. Find out what the government of the US did about how Nigeria got on that watch list.
Okay.
That was what stopped them. That was what stopped them, not because of these criminals that are killing our own people and pretending somebody else was doing it because they wanted to make money.
Okay, thank you.
I'm telling you what transpired between us. I'm not telling you what somebody else reported.
Wow.
Which is why we say we're going to punish them very severely. One more information on the issue. so that you can put it in verify them and put them in context. When Nnadi Kanu was arrested in 2015, again our people say, oh, even Asari that beheaded soldier and was I had to go uninvited at my own cost. And I engaged the legal team led by Obeta at the time and the senior advocate who used to be Attorney General in Anambra. Between the three of us and a few other volunteers, we got an order using the same formula we used in the previous matters. We got an order for unconditional release of Nnadi Kanu. You will never hear it from amongst them, but my name is on that court order given by Justice Ademola. Buhari was so infuriated by that order that he bundled Justice Ademola and his wife into prison. A judge on false charges that were thrown out after some 6 months or so. Now, he didn't release Nnadi Kanu. 2016 passed. 2017, it became something that they had to go to look for a political solution. But where would they begin that discussion? Again, I was invited. Everybody prevailed. The people who were doing Biafra with him, they had their DOS. There were 14 people managing IPOB at the time. Out of the 14, he was now in detention. The other people who saw something they didn't, he had told them lies because Nnadi Kanu told them that we were working for the Fulani to prevent them from getting Biafra. They began to attack the facilities that became their structures on ground in Aba and and every other place in Port Harcourt, where facilities were put in place. But he turned around to lie with that radio. At the time, we were operating like a submarine. The reason some of you do not know anything about what I'm telling you tonight was that it was necessary to operate a submarine in the initial part of what we were doing. We disguised it so that the enemy will not stop it. I confided in Nnadi Kanu some of those things that were very critical to the project. He used those things to now create falsehoods that are still impeding this project of liberation to this date. Because he diverted the minds of our people away. He said that we were trying to amend constitution. We've never talked about amending any constitution. We say we have not made any constitution. We want to end the union of Nigeria by toppling the constitution that was imposed to hold our sovereignties together, so that those who want to federate will go to another meeting. That's what we have done for 24 years, non-stop.
Okay.
Every other thing in between is just people coming in to scam other people.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tony.
The release in 2007, the release in 2017, where his confederates in that gap, the ones who now realize that he lied to them about what we were doing, they put pressure to say, please, help us and bring him out. We don't want to leave him there and declare support for, that is, join what you are doing. I had to go to, I'm sure some of you, if there's anybody present in this meeting, who has seen the pictures, if there's anybody present in this meeting, who has seen the pictures of where myself, Chukwuma Soludo, the one that is governor in Anambra now, Patu Tommy, the one that was doing obedient movement, Ferdinand Dago, and a few other people. Is there anybody here who has seen the picture of the day we went to Kuje in 2017 that became the basis of the discussion that led to the release of Nnadi Kanu? Is there anybody who has seen those pictures?
I have not. I don't know.
I have.
Yes. Yes. Dr. CM has seen it. Yes.
I have.
Guys,
No, hold on now, Garcia, please. Let him finish. Please round up, sir. 30 seconds, please.
Yes. The reason I'm speaking this way is that our people are being killed in large numbers in eastern Nigeria on account of the scam called Biafra Restoration. And I'm saying it to the hearing of the whole world. We are going to take it out against the people doing it and the people sponsoring it.
Okay. All right.
We're going to treat them like murderers.
Wow.
What Nigeria is doing now
Nobody, please don't mute yourself now.
To stop that mess in the Igbo land. The Nigeria that wanted to kill Igbo people is deliberately managing the matter in a manner that.
All right, Mr. Tony. Mr. Tony, please hold on now. Mr. Jonathan, you wanted to say?
Yes. Yes, I have
Okay,
it. I
Mr.
have
Jonathan, please just go straight to the point so that I'll come with
Yeah,
some
straight. Yeah, I just have a quick question. Mr. Tony, I was listening to you, attentively. You mentioned that U.S. has been part of this, and that you informed that your group, made known to the United States government the involvement of or the infiltration of ISIS into Nigeria, and that the Buhari government was aware of that fact. So, what is contradictory to me here is that why is it that the United States still continue to support the Nigerian government, knowing fully well that ISIS has infiltrated Nigeria? Is it a question of national interest that is far above the interest of Nigeria, regardless whatever cause that you or Nigerians, like-minded people, are fighting for?
It was the Republican government. It was the government of Trump that had the discipline, and the Christian, the evangelicals that confronted Trump with the killings that were happening to Christians. They were the ones who sat down. In fact, the first nominee for national security advisor position in Trump at the time Trump won election, his name is Frank Gaffney. The evangelicals were able to secure, as part of the discussion for support, they were able to secure the commitment of Trump as candidate, that if he became president, he was going to do whatever it took to stop the killing of Christians in Nigeria.
Okay.
And once
Make it brief, sir.
he became the opening to discuss that matter and the actions that were taken. It was the election of 2020 in which these democratic people came that turned them, they began to look. You saw that Nigeria was on the watch list. Blinken has removed it. Is it that the killings stopped?
All right, Mr. Tony, sir, please hold on. Augustine, you wanted to ask a question.
It's not America that is acting.
Hold on, Mr. Tony.
Whatever.
Hold on, Mr. Tony. Mr.
Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. Thank you, Mr. Tony. Mr. Tony, please just hold on. Augustine, please go straight to your point.
Tony, yes, my question, I would like a brief answer so that we can always interact. What is the contribution of the government of United Kingdom either to help NINAS succeed, because you said you engage a lot of international people from outside. What is the contribution of United Kingdom either to help it succeed or to kill it, knowing fully well that Britain is responsible for the creation of Nigeria? That's my question.
The government of the United Kingdom, from beginning to now, had been at the core of the problem. In fact, on 2 occasions, we had to make direct broadcasts detailing what their high commissioners were doing to compound the problem here. They were the ones that drafted P2B to go to run. You saw when he went to Downing Street to drag us to election at a time we had already succeeded. You had when Afe Babalala said, let's leave election alone and go and solve this problem. At that point, we had overtaken them. If not for P2B being drafted into going to contest, to drag Igbo people into this foolishness you have seen, of going to drag the knife, holding the blade. So Britain had been 100% committed to making sure that we did not succeed. And we do not need them. As I speak with you, we have done something deeper than what they did. We broke into their archives and got the documents that our fathers didn't see at the time they signed us into this terrible union. So Britain is the problem.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that question. All right. No, everybody. No, that's it. That's it. We discuss for that. Mr. Jonathan, that's it. One person cannot continue to be asking questions. I need to let him go now. Mr. Tony, please, I want you to round up. I want to really appreciate you for your time with us today. You know, I never thought you were going to stay this long. Please round up with us in 2 minutes so that we can let you go, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. NINAS has a potent mechanism for arresting everything that had gone wrong with Nigeria across the last 60 years. We invite all of those who want an end to this trauma, whether they want outright independence, or they want regional autonomy, or they want resource control. The Constitution of Nigeria is the brick wall standing between them and that desire. NINAS has succeeded in delegitimizing that constitution. That's why everybody is shouting from everywhere now that that constitution must go. And so, from that point of delegitimization, we have entered into the phase of decommissioning. Those who want these changes, because it's just a matter of a degree of autonomy. If you want 100% autonomy, let us bring the matter to a logjam. Let us bring the matter of Nigeria to a logjam, that all of us are rejecting this constitution. All of us insist we must go to transition like South Africa did in 1990 about apartheid. And all of us will now do the 5-step. What we have in our proposition in that constitutional force majeure is a 5-point proposition that states what has to be done, who will do it, when it will be done. It will not take 3 months. If we leave aside whatever we were thinking before and examine what we have on the table, and whether we come or we don't, the matter will be executed. The matter will be completed. The only thing that will change is the collateral damage. So we invite everybody to please just put aside what they were thinking before. It is in black and white. It is in audiovisual. We have more than 320 broadcasts that are in the web, in the YouTube channel. Just say NINAS voice. You will see everything I've told you now. You will see them in video.
No, I'll follow you up henceforth. Yes, I'll make sure I keep close eye to you, what you guys are doing, because I've learned a lot from you today. Thank you very much, Mr. Tony, for coming in today. At least you spent 1 hour 45 minutes with us here. I really do appreciate this. We are still going to book another time where you can come in and take more questions, because a lot of people are calling in, but they could not, because we are using the same phone to engage you here. Maybe next time you have enough time to take more questions from Nigerians across the world. Thank you very much, sir, for coming in.
Thank you. I will only plead that those who are coming to ask questions should examine what our propositions are. Good. That is what will justify coming to ask.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Tony. Have a good night, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
All right. My people, I appreciate every one of you. That is Mr. Tony right there, the legal practitioner and co-convener of the NINAS Nigeria Indigenous nationality right there. So I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for I can see, but I not gonna know what happened last anyway, because some of you, I saved your previous comments. But I don't want to create problem this evening, but I saved your I have to go back to go look at your previous comment when Mr. Tony were talking. Some of you that were really praising on Mr. Tony, automatically you now started insulting him when he switched to Kanu, Nnadi Kanu. That is wrong. To be honest, you started disrespecting him. You know,
can I come in, sir?
Hold on, sir. This is one of the things I talk about all the time on this platform. You know, some of us here, what we want to hear is what you want to hear. What you don't want to hear, then you want to create a problem everywhere. Is wrong. I have to go back. Hold on, sir. Now I have to go back to go check. Some of you were even saying, thank you, Mr. Tony. I told you guys before that our constitution is the problem. The other one said, oh, thank you. I don't want to mention your name unless you not push me. The other one said, oh, Mr. Tony, you are hitting the nail on the head. The other one, then the same people now started criticizing Mr. Tony immediately when he switched to Nnadi Kanu. That life shouldn't be like that. On this platform, if you know me, and some of you were even saying that Mr. Naja was asking questions, not be me asking the Nnadi Kanu question. Now, Mr. Alex ask him. I don't ask him any question until that last time. Why I can't ask and say whether Nnadi Kanu and Samuel Ekpa are working together. That's all. That's the only question I passed in today. Come on, you know, we should allow people to be free, you know, and talk. Thank you.
Mr. Elvis, see, yes, Mr. Elvis, sorry, Garcia. Let me just see what you are saying is that you can't really condemn people completely like that. Because for me, too, I support Mr. Tony to some extent. However, there's the saying, the devil is in the details. You can support someone, but when that person comes out openly to elaborate, to expatiate on his position, you can find some fault inside. The devil is in the details. It's not just the headlines. It's like just
okay. When it gets to your turn, sir,
Mr.
elaborate more. You know, we are taking a brief response right now. Mr. No, hold on. It's Augustine, brief, because I want to pass a longer minutes to everybody to talk, but brief now.
Yeah, my brief is that
1 minute.
I remember Tony made it clear. He said he had 4-hour discussion with Nnadi Kanu. It's only between two of them. He said that's what he's reporting to us. So I wasn't there. And what I wanted to ask him was, or just to say it now, that God help Nnadi Kanu comes out. Anytime two of you will debate this, because when you say two of us were in a room, we discuss something and you are telling it and you are letting the public know, that is one side of the story. That's what I'm saying. He may be wrong, he may be right. So that's why I don't want to engage him on that.
Okay.
Because this is purely discussion between them. But the other one, sorry, the other one I wanted was, you see, you can now find out that the government of Britain that is responsible for the menace in Nigeria is torpedoing what they are doing. So my question should have been, how leave every part of the world, bring Britain on one-on-one and engage them. Have you people done that? That's what I wanted to ask. But
yeah, but at the end of the day, if they say Britain doesn't want us to succeed, Britain will not allow anybody to succeed. That want anything.
He answered the question indirectly now. He answered the question indirectly.
He answered it now. So
no.
He answered the question.
No, I said to engage them. That's what you call them on one-on-one. That's what I'm saying. He said he went to Congress. Come here and tell them, Britain, this is what we are doing. What is your stand on it? That's what I mean by engaging them. I will bring him
back again next time where he can speak properly and, you know, give us a mandate. You wanted to come in earlier on. Please make it 1 minute. You have enough time to give your submission quickly.
Well, it was just going to be on the fact that people were talking about when it came to Mazi Kanu, people were they were speaking. But you know, one thing is, honestly, I don't know. I've not heard about this man before. But what he came to say today is a revelation that I think he needs to come back and enlighten Nigerians. I was going to ask him what they are doing to make themselves known out there, like the Ekpa and other organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Black Panther, you wanted to say something as well?
Yeah, Nigeria Watch, God bless you. Like you see on my when I made a speech, I said one thing: everybody should hold his pen and pencil to listen. And when you listen, you are supposed to go on research. You are not supposed to come and start condemning or saying all sorts of things. Go on research, meditate on it, and ask yourself a question. You will come out refined. Thank you.
Not when.
No, sir. You say that later. This is not an interactive session now. I'm going to pass minutes to every one of you. But before that, let me take some calls here. Only 1 minute. Thank you very, very much, Mazi, for calling in. You only have 1 minute, sir, to talk to us. Please go ahead.
Hello.
You have 1 minute, sir. 1 minute. Go ahead, sir. Good evening to you.
Yes, my brother, good evening. Yes, my name is Paul, calling from Gabon. Yes, I've been hearing what you people are discussing with Tony and Nnadi. That's where I want to come on it. Nnadi Kanu is not working with his Ekpa. And I want to let him know, Tony have never visited Nigerian prison before. So he cannot come here to insult Nnadi Kanu. That's what I want to ask him, but he couldn't pick my call. So any other time he came online,
we'll replan.
You will not go away with it.
Okay,
please.
No problem.
Nnadi Kanu is very, very precious to us.
Okay.
So let him stop insulting Nnadi Kanu in this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me pick another call quickly. Hello, good evening to you. Your name and where you're calling us from. You have only 1 minute. Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling from.
You are the best man. This is your brother C2 calling from Sierra Leone.
Thank you, sir. Talk to us. 1 minute.
Thank you for a good job. I just want to say something. It's just unfortunately we have no more time to ask Tony another question. I am one of those people that said that make it clear. If you want to lay allegation on someone, Don't lay allegation on that person. Based on that person, he cannot. He's not here at the moment to defend himself. We all know what Tony Nnadi stands for. Where it's quite unfortunately that people have never known him. He has been carrying this file for almost 30 years now, calling a larger lawyer congress. I don't want him to be calling them the Kanu names because we will call him names as well, and people are not like it because up to ask Tony Nnadi who is backroning Tony Nnadi. Why did the Yorubas pursue him from this Spagmire?
Okay, sir, your 1 minute is up now. Your 1 minute is
Thank
up.
You very much,
thank you, sir.
Thank
you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, madam. Love of God is my strength. You have only 1 minute, man. Please talk to us. Good evening to you.
You said 1 minute or 2 minutes?
1 minute. 1 minute we are giving.
Okay, thank you. I'll be quick. I just want every one of us on this platform to have a free mind, to have an open mind, to learn, to listen. You know, there's one thing that I see that most people do when they call a particular person, everyone is angry. Why not just listen? This man has been going on since not today. He has been talking about these NINAS that a lot of us we are listening to and we are following him. What this man is saying is true. Yes, even long ago, the man said he went to visit Nnadi Kanu. Then I was still following iPod on Facebook. I remember then. So what I'm saying is that let us listen to what this man said. There's a lot of doing it. We have tried everything in Nigeria. We are not succeeding. So why not let's see if we can elaborate this and see whether we can be free. A lot of people are against us. Countries are against us. And this man is saying that because of one paper, one constitution that they have done, that is not even the green paper that we are looking at constitution. It's something that has tied us down. Nigeria long ago is supposed to be no more. That is that 1999. It's supposed to be no more. It's supposed to be 100 years. Oh, but it's still continuing. So we need to sit down and talk. And I think we should give people the right to bear their mind out. We should not argue because of our own interest. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm done with calls for now. Please let me come back to the panel again. But before that, my people, the only way we can have a better Nigeria, the only way we must come together. But what I'm seeing, we all are divided. Yes, we are. Many of us are. We are deceiving ourselves. We stand here. We stand here. Many of us we are not even sure where we stand. You know, that's why you see that these politicians have the opportunity to use every one of us because they know that any little thing we can fight ourselves, any little things we already started arguing with ourselves, division amongst us. A brother don't love brother anymore. Sister don't love sister anymore. A wife don't love husband anymore. Husband don't love husband, wife anymore. Everybody's fighting. So that confusion amongst ourselves must be able. You know, we must join head together to take it out. If not, we are not going anywhere. Because it surprised me a lot. Yes, I'm not. Mr. Tony didn't come here because of Nnadi Kanu. Mr. Tony came here. Somebody, it was even one of you that told me that we should bring Mr. Tony. I don't really know him that much. It's today, you know, hearing him out, and I get to understand and reading their website. I get to understand what NINAS stands for. I was like, oh wow, you know, I didn't really know much about this, but many of you that were raining praises and all that, what happened? So suddenly these people like because of Nnadi Kanu now you come here we felt no say you hate Nnadi Kanu, you are a bad person, you are this, you are that, but you the same mouth use and take pray for our sins. We have a long way to go, man. And anyway, hold on, sir, please. I have Ginger Breadman here with us. Ginger Breadman, thank you very much for calling in. You have just 1 minute, sir. Please talk to us. Ginger Breadman, go ahead now. You there?
Let him join.
Okay, your network is bad, Ginger Breadman. Unfortunately, we need to go. You are not talking. Sorry. Okay, hold on, sir, please. Okay, let me start with you, CM.
Okay,
then, let me start with you. You have 8 minutes, and I'm going to stop you 8 minutes dot. Everybody use your minutes well. Yes, 8 minutes dot, so that we can round up. 8 minutes. Go ahead, sir. 8 minutes.
But sorry, you can come to me last, please. Come to me as the last person.
Okay, that's fine. But before you go ahead, Mr. Augustine, let me quickly appreciate those that supported me, the channel financially. Michael Renemaro, thank you very much. Madam Bella Naomi, thank you earlier on. God bless you. Thank you, Anthony Ola. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Johnson Emmanuel. Thank you, George Blueshell. Thank you. I appreciate every one of you.
I know they do competition with anybody. If I offend you, forgive me. Oh. Tó bá ti sanwó fún Ṣẹ́gun Nnadi o, ẹ fẹ́ jókù. Alákọ̀bí Ṣẹ́gun Nnadi. Alákọ̀bí Sábàmẹ́là. Anybody? Any bobo. Anybody? Mo ló ń fọlú, ó gbà mí bó ṣe rí mi láti kíníṣí. Délé mo ló ń fọlú, ẹ jẹ́ ń sọ̀rọ̀. Délé ó dé.